Welcome everyone to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and today spawning in the northwest corner map playing in blue, we've got loueMT playing as the ayyubids, and his opponent in the southeast playing in red, representing Team Liquid, it's Demu, playing as the Byzantines. Welcome everyone to Rocky River, with two fantastic civilizations, two great players in Age of Empires 4 by the way, both featured in the Elite Classic from the EGC TV tournament of course, and two incredibly highly skilled, highly ranked players. Playing two civilizations that are actually becoming really prominent in Age of Empires 4 right now. The Byzantines, with a great economy right from the Dark Age with the cistern, going to get that 10% extra gather rate on the villages. It would be great for that little bit of an economy boost early on. Speaking of economy, the ayyubids, a pretty nice civilization, can have the berry bush working hard here, the villagers picking that food nicely and quickly. And well, the ayyubids are one of the civilizations that can be very adaptive. Many different options. Obviously, military wing can be an option for them, looking to get those desert raiders nice and early, then can transition to maybe a second town centre, possibly even a fast castle. Lots of options. Now, of course, this being a hybrid map, you can look to maybe get some docks on the map, and the ayyubids getting the cheaper docks could take advantage of the shorefish. There's not that much to be had, so it looks like actually, in fact, in terms of the build, that both players are actually kind of avoiding that at the moment. The ayyubids, obviously one of the civilizations, a bit more natural to go for water. The Byzantines, maybe not so much. Either way, both players are just going to be ignoring it for now. Maybe they might move out to it a little bit later on in the game, but I think generally the timings for the ayyubids at this point, if you're not going to end up going for water early on, it probably means you never will. We have to see. It's going to be the Grand Winery for the Byzantines, looking to play for the olive oil. Such a great resource for the Byzantines, of course. Going to get an additional 60% of olive oil coming in, gathered with the berries. Great for the mercenaries coming in. ayyubids still maintaining a healthy village count on gold, 3 of them, and it does look like, in fact, he's going to go up with the military wings. They're going to get the desert raiders just to pack a punch a little bit earlier. Now, bear in mind, what's kind of fascinating about this matchup is that, well, the Byzantines, they do like to play a bit more of an extended feudal age at times nowadays because of the extra 10% gather rate on the villagers. The feudal age can be really quite powerful for them, especially with the strong economy they've got behind it. Bear in mind though, the ayyubids, if they do get 10 buildings connected to each other, they will get that 10% extra gather rate for the villagers as well. Of course, they don't have that just yet, so there's a little bit of an edge up there for the Byzantines so far already. And that Grand Winery almost being built, 4 villagers building that, of course. The age up for the ayyubids can't be sped up any quicker than it already is. Plenty of sheep being picked up by loueMT on Demu's side of the map. Could bring them home relatively soon. Not that it matters for the ayyubids. One thing that they benefit from really in the early game, they can afford to go on berries nice and early. It means that the scout can go for quite an aggressive route to pick up as many sheep as possible. It's definitely a powerful one. Wheelbarrow actually coming for both players, actually quite a commonly chosen upgrade nowadays. We saw a phase in Age of Empires 4 where it wasn't necessarily the biggest play, but it's coming back in fashion. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube, hope you guys are enjoying the content. I certainly am enjoying casting Age of Empires 4 right now, and I'm streaming live on Twitch these days, so welcome in Twitch chat. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome in Blaze McKay. Hope you're doing well, buddy. And there's the age up coming in. Desert Raider pops out nice and early, so going to be moving out. Actually going to be investing in a stable there. So the ayyubids are going to play an extended feudal age as well. Now, it's kind of a curious one, right? Because as long as he does get the Golden Age tier 1 pretty quickly, then it can actually kind of match like for like in many ways the Byzantines. All the Byzantines will have olive oil, so we'll be able to get some mercenaries out for free, effectively, comparatively. Let's just see how much damage he's able to do. But additional cistern going up, so that's going to be an additional 4% on that. So 14% should be a really nice boosting up, of course, on the village gather rate. And going to head in with a Limitani from the barracks, of course, to help deal with the desert raiders coming out nice and quickly for the ayyubids. The question is really, how much do the ayyubids invest in this feudal age, and how much do they look to maybe posture towards that castle age behind this? Because of course, maybe relics could be an important thing to gather. Speaking of which, I gotta say, the relic positions kind of favour the Byzantines at this point. 3 of them on this left side of the map. Ooh, Desert Raider. Got to be careful about that Limitani, but it does use the ranged attack from Desert Raider to just poke and prod against that Limitani. Scout going to just go a bit further in just to find out what information he can. Problem with the Limitani, of course, they can't really gap close easily. Movement speed just not in their favour in that direct matchup. Would take a mistake for loueMT to get caught. Adding in a double archery range as well, so yeah, definitely going to be playing extended feudal age. I love to see it. I do love feudal age battles. The Byzantines, though, they won't shy away from that, I don't think. There is that mercenary house. Question is, what contract rather he's going to go with. I think generally you would want to avoid Keshiks or cavalry because, of course, the Desert Raiders do have that camel unease bonus on them. So I'm kind of expecting to maybe see the Western mercenary contract to give the longbowmen the Landsknechte and then the Streltsy. It remains to be seen, of course, what he opts to do. Alright, there's more Desert Raiders popping out now. Of course, gets one Desert Raider every 2 minutes or so. Oh, 3 Limitani. Snags in a horseman. Oh, that's a bit of an error there for loueMT. Does get caught. Takes a lot of damage, but now with the archers involved, that's going to be useful for sure. Work on those Limitani will mean that they need maybe a stable transition for the Byzantines. Maybe he does go for the contract for the Keshiks. He does actually indeed, yeah. So definitely going to mix it up. Of course, he's got to be careful about the Desert Raiders and Cameralese, but, you know, going with a combination of cavalry and Limitani, not a bad option at all. How's it going, Zathras? Thanks for the bits. Appreciate it. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Did he misclick the contract? Okay. Well, there we go. We've got some insider information there in Twitch chat. Thank you so much there, Twiffs. Who saw the game live, probably when Demu was streaming, I suspect. But yeah, it was a curious pick. I mean, I don't necessarily hate it, but yeah, I was expecting to see the Western mercenary contract, but it turns out it was a misclick rather than necessarily a choice. Actually kind of interesting to know, right? But yeah, I think Keshiks, you know, if it is a misclick, it's a misclick, but it's not necessarily the worst case scenario because you do want some cavalry to try and maybe... I mean, I would probably prefer Limitani longbowmen, but having Keshiks as a mobility unit is not too terrible either. But that's how the Cameralese working for him now, the ayyubids. Arch numbers looking decent, trying to focus on Limitani numbers if they can. Keshiks backing away, and this is the benefit actually of having Cameralese, right? Because the Keshiks will be trying to go on the archers, but the damage is mitigated somewhat by 20%. So a decent amount. Limitani, though, with the shield wall ability, makes it difficult to take out. Look at that. Really difficult to take out those archers. Usually, if there were spearmen, must be taken out really quickly. But overall, Demu going to have to back away. Numbers are starting to build up a little bit here for loueMT. But thank you, Zathras. Welcome on in. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Now, water level 2 is in play. Bear in mind, it's not just the villager gathering rate that's boosted up by that. It will be also conscriptio, so it's going to be getting an additional 40% production on those military buildings. And 2 more Keshiks do ride out into the mid-map. Neither player going for the shorefish just yet, as we kind of anticipated, all pedal to the metal in this feudal age aggression. Arch numbers having to back away. Kind of caught a little bit, so Keshiks will get some value. But he's going to ride on in with the camels, the Desert Raiders, I should say. loueMT looking just to get to Iron Undermesh, which is an interesting upgrade actually as a first upgrade because there's no real ranged units here for the Byzantines. Surprised to see that. I was kind of expecting maybe fitted leatherwork or maybe bloomery, just to add in a bit of extra protection for those units, going up against mostly melee, of course, with the Keshiks and the Limitani. Going to be walling up down the south, protect the berries, and that's actually quite a nice wall, giving a bit of real estate, but it's mostly the berries is protecting with that. Going to get an outpost on the goal, trying to keep the area secure, because it's kind of limited on military unit numbers. Archers looking decent here for the ayyubids, focusing on the Limitani first before the Desert Raiders head on in. Only 1 or 2 Limitani still remaining, so the Desert Raiders going to get maximum value. Added in a couple of horsemen as well with the stable, it seems. Yeah, the ayyubids, and it's going to be starting to be overrun here, Demu, but that outpost going to help quite significantly. loueMT won't be able to push in straight away. Bear in mind, if this does end up being a sort of really heavy feudal age battle, loueMT will be able to get some rams with the ayyubids. Of course, getting the siege engineering tech for free. And there's that mercenary house. Now, bear in mind, with the military wing, can actually build the rams on the field with the camels or the Desert Raiders, and also the horsemen, as well as the archers. It's definitely an interesting one. It's a new thing for the ayyubids. in a more recent patch, and also has arrow slits in play with the outpost, so it doesn't even have to garrison in necessarily. Yeah, loueMT looking to play this a bit more aggressively and do some damage. Behind this, should be taking up to the next stage pretty soon. Same can be said about the Byzantines though. Villagers, where are they off to? Where are they off to? Looking to maybe torch down the ram. They're going to sacrifice it. Look to just to repair the outpost just for now. Try to get as much value as possible. But the Keshiks going down in numbers. And that's rough. And I think Byzantines have to back away. Those villagers might be forfeit. Going to have to get on garrison. I think he's going to commit though. Hopefully he has textiles. Hopefully give him additional. Yeah, it's coming in. It's queued up. But it's not in just yet. It means the archers. I mean, they're going to focus on the Keshik first. And the Limitani. And then the villagers. Outpost is all healed up. And actually, now the Arby is actually being pushed away. Quite surprisingly, the ram wasn't able to do enough damage too quickly. And Demu with a great hold. Okay, well, the villager pool was definitely worth it in the end. Surprising to see that actually work out for him. Now, next stage, going to be the economic wing growth. Going to give him an additional 8 villagers, which is absolutely fantastic for that economy. Going heavy on gold as well. So he's going to be pumping out units. Got one stable. He's going to be adding in a 3rd archery range, curiously enough. And that'll give him access to crossbows in the next stage. But I was kind of expecting to see more heavily armored units being an option with maybe a barracks added in for some gulam, or maybe another stable for some camel lancers. Instead, it's double archery range, or another archery range, triple archery range in total, being added into the war efforts. The Golden Horn Tower for the Byzantines, very commonly chosen landmark, will give them additional units from the mercenary house, well, just mercenary units in general. In this case, it will be the Keshiks. loueMT also getting the specialized pick upgrade, looking to get the maximum value from the gold miners as possible. Getting the fitted leatherwork from the blacksmith as well. Now the cast stage timing here is going to be a nice one for both players, but more importantly the ayyubids, you know, the great thing for them and the 8 extra villages they get, it just is so nice for the economy. So there's going to be a nice bit of power spike in that regard. Don't forget, the Byzantines economy have been working really hard. The olive oil coming in, the extra 4% advantage they've had on villager gathering rate, it makes a big difference. And there is that age up. Going to be getting the veterancy on the archers, and also balanced projectiles as you'd expect. Keshiks just pushing away the scout for now. loueMT having to back away. Villagers moving out to a second area to mill out the berries. Looking to get the free sources of food. Now this is something actually the Keshiks, the mobility, might give him some advantages here. Demu, if he spots that nice and early, he's looking to get an outpost, but he's going to build the mill first. Desert Raider heading in that position. And there is a Keshiks get a charge in. We'll be able to take up one Desert Raider. Micros away the weak Keshik. Nicely done. Does snipe in one of the Desert Raiders, but the archer numbers looking solid. They are veteran archers as well, so they'll definitely pack a punch, especially with the balanced projectile upgrade. And even without the outpost, those 3 Keshiks won't be able to get too much value. Speaking of outposts, they are being built now, so the berries will be secure. Olive Grove transition is well underway for the Byzantines, so we'll be pumping out mercenaries as well. Now, interesting enough, one relic has already been pulled in by the Byzantines. Have we seen a mosque? There is the mosque for the ayyubids, looking to get those dervishes out nice and quickly, and looks like the second relic possibly going to pick up, going to get a one. Oh wait, loueMT's not paying attention. This will actually be going over to the Byzantines. Wait, yeah, okay, just managed to get it in the end. Unfortunately there for loueMT, wasn't paying attention, and by the time he looked, it was just a little bit too late. Dervish, though, will make it out there with one of the relics. So overall, it looks like the ayyubids should be able to get 3 of them. Not too bad overall. Looking to get the berries there on the northeast side as well. Archer numbers looking really solid. Now, of course, a slight different for the ayyubids. They don't get access to composite bows. It's an upgrade for the Abbasids. Their parent civilization, I'd call it, maybe. But the original. Water level up to 3, and this is something that's actually quite nice that scales super well for the Byzantines. Going to give that additional extra 4% now, so it should be 18% gather rate. But also 60% production speed on those military buildings. It's very nice indeed. The economy and military production going hand in hand and just walling up here. So maybe the Byzantines looking to play the late game, which is not something that they're too afraid of course. Olive oil comes in really good handiness there. Keshik's just picking up a couple of stray ranged units, veteran archers. This number of archers is looking pretty scary. Like a handful of Keshiks won't be able to deal with it. It needs a decent mass. Ram being sacrificed. Now, speaking of progression to the game, oh, loueMT bracing gets the cavalry, diving in a little bit too deep there maybe, but have to back away because loueMT comes in with the archers. In good numbers as well. Got a couple of ringing guards, maybe a couple of crossbows could be sprinkled in here for the ayyubids. Just to help with that a little bit. Either way, something to consider in this match and this map is gold. This back gold is going to be crucial for Demu to maybe move on to next, because I suspect that this gold vein is going to be expiring. I could go for this one in the forward position, but you have to secure it, right? It doesn't really have any control of it just yet. This is where getting access to the 8,000 gold veins becomes important. Both players have one on each side. But the map control firmly in the position for the ayyubids. It could be tricky for the Byzantines. It's pushed the villagers away from gold. They're going to have to transition somewhere else. Varangian Guards tanking that front line. I think actually Demu should be okay because the Varangian Guards is obviously a very heavily armoured unit. Mostly archers here for the ayyubids. They're not the best unit at dealing with them. They'll kite the Varangian Guards. Especially the fact that they've got balanced projectiles certainly helps. But, you know, the Varangian Guards should be able to catch up and do a decent amount of damage, especially with the loueMT and the shield wall ability. But ultimately, with good micro-ham, loueMT should be able to extract a decent amount of value from these units. As long as he keeps on kiting like he is, and ultimately, you might not even lose too many. He's picking away, and the trouble for Demu is that, you know, if he does start to retreat, he'll lose a couple of units on the retreat. Couple of lancers, tanking the front lines. And bear in mind, there aren't actually that many loueMT left. That allows the camel riders, camel lancers rather, to do a lot of damage against the Varangian Guards, although a couple of loueMT heading in from the back line. They're really poking and prodding, but still has to back away. Not enough here, loueMT, not the right units. But the numbers are thinning for the Byzantines. And as long as they continue to thin, the ayyubids will be fine. And I think he actually deals with this. He even gets one of the sacred sites. Got 4 of the relics, actually, in fact. He snagged one. There were 2 sacred sites in play for the ayyubids. A lot of gold will be coming in passively. Not actually having to mine anything, but getting 600 gold per minute is pretty impressive for the ayyubids. You know, really population efficient that way. loueMT and Varangian Guards just protecting the sacred site that's on the sides of the Byzantines. It looks like, I mean, it feels like almost there's a second town centre place. There it is, yeah. Just look at the villager count. This is something the ayyubids do pretty well and quite often. They have the aggression, and after opening military wing into cast stage, they do tend to add in multiple town centres. In fact, there's 3 of them. That economy are going to be rocking and rolling for loueMT and the ayyubids. Behind all that aggression, there's another element to the ayyubids play here for loueMT that's going to pose a bit of problems for the Byzantines. They do have the water level at 5. It's going to be a 26% boosting on the villager gather rate and an additional 100% on the production. This one in particular actually toggled to Dialectica, so going to be increasing the research speed. Manjanik on the front line, built by the ayyubids. That's going to be problematic for the Byzantines to deal with, actually, because it's something actually quite nice for the ayyubids. A couple of civilizations are this way, where when they tech up to the next stage, to the cast stage, they get siege quite quickly. You know, the Mongols come to mind, the Ottomans certainly come into mind, and it forces the enemy into a certain way of playing, right? He's going to need a siege workshop to get a springboard or 2, unless he gets massive Varangian Guards to try and get surrounded and snipe it. But that's doable with one Manjanik. Add in a couple more, then it becomes a little bit more of a problem. Adding the dervishes into the army as well, just to heal on up those units. Going to be stonewalling here, loueMT as well, just to narrow the angle of approach. Make sure everything is funneled down the middle. Keep the back line protected, and also be able to have access to trade. We have seen trade on this map before. We could potentially see it again. Demu taking out those units on the right side sacred site pretty quickly. Water level though, going down to 4, has disconnected the aqueduct system. Double Manjanik deploys on the production there and the outpost. Setting a couple of Camelots just to raid. This could be devastating actually for the Byzantines. The Byzantine villagers do retreat in the end. He does have textiles, which will help him a little bit. Got that a little bit earlier in the game. But nevertheless, will suffer some losses. And more importantly, he's keeping a lot of villagers idle. There's going to be another 4 dead villagers there for sure. Dervishes healing each other up. This is not looking great for the Byzantines. He's already behind on villagers. It's going to suffer some more. Although he might get on top of the Manjanik here. Although going for the Camel Lancer first. Managing to go behind the massive archers. That's massive and to get a good number of shots. Now the Varinga guards are pretty tanky. But they can only take so many shots and should get another shot against them. 2 Manjanik. No, just one of them gets the firing off. But the Camel Lancer is now heading to the fight. Now the archers need to take care of the Limitane if they can. If they focus on the Limitane, that'll allow the Camel Lancer to get on top of these units. He's got to be careful. He does lose one more Manjanik here. This is going to be a good fight overall for the Byzantines, you feel. But with a couple of crossbows added in for the ayyubids, this should be okay. As long as he can stay well with more reinforcements. Those reinforcements are coming in the form of Camel Lancers. Again, Limitane numbers looking decent. I think this is the army composition that we're kind of expecting at the beginning of the game. Got the infantry mass, Limitane and archers. Maybe we were expecting Limitane and longbows with the Western military contract. Instead, he went for the Keshiks. And we don't see the Keshiks being used that much. Kind of understandable, right? Because now we get to the stage of the game where Camel Lancers are a big deal. And Keshiks would just not work. And that's kind of problematic for Demu, I've got to say, because that means that the olive oil not really working for him at this stage of the game, but he could be banking it up if the game does go late. Maybe the foreign engineering company could be pretty useful to get siege engines with the olive oil that he's banking up. Looks like the ayyubids now getting some stone walls on the sacred site. Look good to bridge and close that on up. Now with all this expansion, does have the tier 4 to the golden age. That means the siege unit's going to cost 20% less, which is massive because we are steadily heading to the game where siege engines become all that more important. Demu starting to group up units together. Possibly going to be pushing out soon. The ayyubids almost double the villages. The big concern is that I don't think the Byzantines are aware of the situation, right? The ayyubids have constantly pumped out units. It would be easy to be kind of not noticing the town centre boom behind this. Because Demu hasn't been able to venture on the map. It doesn't have any Keshiks, doesn't have any sort of... I don't think he's got vision on this. And it's understandable, right? Because the thing is, the ayyubids have been able to pump out units at the same time. It's kind of crazy he's been able to do both. Usually you have to sacrifice one for the other. Usually if you go for the eco approach, you have to sacrifice military production, at least for a short while. But it's never really felt, in terms of the pacing of the game and how loueMT's played this, it never really felt that that's been the case. Gets a stone wall, so nicely walled up, and yeah. Good thing he's done that, because now Demu can't really push in that direction. Funneled in through the middle. In fact, I don't think there's any way through. I think it's fully walled up. So Demu's going to have to engage this army head on. Looks like it's about to. Camel Lancers diving on. Limitane, though, are bracing themselves on the front line. Added in with the Varinga guards, getting on top of that. This could be a huge fight. Ayyubids, though, they do use a massive magic shot on those archers in the Stealth Forest. Got a massive hit, but looks like the Byzantines will push the ayyubids away and back through the stone walls. And the ayyubids retreating for now. Just too much there for the Byzantines. Going on top of the wall, so the archers are getting some good value. Makes them a little bit more difficult to deal with. Has restored the water level up to level 5 here, Demu. It looks like suddenly we're going to head into the late game, but the bank of resources should be looking really good for the ayyubids, considering he's so ahead in villager count. Heading in a Cairo siphon, maybe look to just try and burn down the stone walls at some point. Now, perhaps it might be heading to a situation where loueMT just continues to macro, although not much more population space to do so. And he thinks about going to the Imperial Legend. In fact, I think he's just clicked up. Looking at the bank of resources, yeah, there it is. Going to go with the Trade Wing Advisors, so going to give him 7 Atabeg, which when garrisoned inside military building will give them an additional 20% health for the newly trained units. A really strong landmark upgrade, especially for the late game. If you're anticipating getting that way, the extra 20% HP on those units. Incredibly powerful. Demu though, going to be going to the next stage himself pretty soon, I suspect. Just a little bit behind on gold, but he'll get there relatively soon. Got plenty of olive oil to spend as well. Upwards of 1,000. So when he does go to the next stage, maybe if it is with the foreign engineering company, we'll be able to get some siege engines. It's not a given one though. Certainly have the other option too. It's viable. Karasefin wasn't sniped in the end by the Camel Lancer, just didn't have enough. He's going to ride on in with the Camel Lancer, potentially get some raiding value. This could be huge. Does have a mangonel placement in the outpost, gets a couple of shots off, but you know, ultimately villagers being idle heavily on the olive groves, riding on in. But of course, it's quite a commitment. Might be surrounded, and loueMT might deal with them pretty quickly if they get on top of them. It looks like they might actually. Oh, Camel Lancer's pathing a little bit awkward between the buildings. Loses 3 of them pretty cheaply. Bear in mind, actually, the villagers might deploy Akrotoy. Hasn't actually done so just yet, so not getting the additional armor they could potentially be getting. But ultimately, you know, you lost a lot of camel riders here, loueMT, not achieving all that much. What he is doing is forcing some idle time. All the villagers building the foreign engineering camp in the front line. Quite a few range units, actually, but I mean, does he focus on the villagers? Does he focus on the military? He's actually focusing on the military at the moment. Not enough here to really take this out for the ayyubids. They're going to have to back away. And now we do start to see those units start to swarm and get on top of the archer numbers. There's that Imperial Age. Queues up an STBs pretty much instantaneously, but by the time that comes out, a lot of the range units might have already been killed here for the ayyubids. They're trying to retreat as best they can, but the military numbers of the Byzantines started to skyrocket. And bear in mind, it's kind of expected, considering, you know, Demu's eco is not all that great. All the resources he's been making is pumping into military units rather than scaling the economy, but the big problem for the Byzantines is that really if they can't pack a punch in the next 5-10 minutes, well, that economy is already starting to look a little bit crazy for the ayyubids. Always getting some good raiding here. 2 Camel Lancers not spotted. Getting good few kills here, that's for sure. Massive. Look at the food bank for loueMT. Yeah, give this game a little bit longer, and the powerhouse of the ayyubids is going to be looking strong. Getting in tithe barns as well. Considering he's got 4 relics, is massive. You see how fast everything researches as well, courtesy of the Golden Age Tier 2, giving an additional 50% research speed. Really powerful for the ayyubids and that power spike in the next stage. Royal Cannon added in. loueMT just sending a bit of a search party, scouting pattern with the elite horsemen, getting the gold in the south. This is massive, by the way. Like, I'm sure the Byzantines maybe aren't as dependent on gold for siege engines, at least, because they've got the olive oil, but, you know, this is gold that is very prominent on the map, and map control for the ayyubids allowing him to take it quite easily. Stone walls looking to protect the olive groves. How's it going, loueMT? Hope you're doing well, buddy. Welcome on in. Oh, okay, horseman just going to try and decap the sacred site, or maybe just ride on past, right? Probably looking to find out as much information as possible more than anything. Riding on in. Now these are elite horsemen, so we'll pack a punch against villagers even with textiles, but of course they can be taken apart very quickly against the heavily armoured units of the Keshiks. Maybe even loueMT going for the wood line now. Demu has added in a second town centre, so scaling the economy as well. Looking to play the late game. Oh, on that front line though, it's not looking great. I mean, there's quite a few villagers exposed. As for the cannon, he's repairing the cannon, so the cannon should survive. Could get a lot of splash damage on the archers. The archer numbers though, looking pretty healthy. Although having said that, the man-at-arms, or the Gulam in fact, they've been drafted in for the mercenaries. And the Varangian Guards are going to get on top of the archer numbers pretty quickly. The archers' numbers, whilst they're in decent numbers still, they're starting to become a little bit obsolete in this fight, in this match. As we start to see the heavily armoured units come out for the Byzantines time and time again. Magic, though, still deploying. Nestabes is out. The Nestabes could do great work against the archers. A couple of units being headed around the back line on that wood line, but will be taken care of by the Keshiks. loueMT taking care of the horseman raid on the right side. Oh, the cannon, will it go down? No, the villagers come out to repair. Massive, he keeps it alive. And he couldn't quite snipe it in the end, and the villager repair rate on those things is a little bit broken at times, you feel. But this is where the Byzantines actually look pretty strong. loueMT, they are an incredibly powerful unit when they're spammed out like this. They've got a great shield wall ability. Makes it very difficult to take care of them. And they're a throwaway unit as well. All important upgrades coming in for the ayyubids. Biology, to name but a few. Siege carpentry as well. Make them a little bit extra tankier, of course. Does have a cannon placement in the outpost with crazy range. Nester bees and royal cannon. Going to be breaking through that stone wall gate pretty soon. Question is whether the Byzantines have enough to really pack a punch. I mean, the concern for the ayyubids, by the way, is he doesn't really have that military numbers, but he does have units running into the back of the base. So that gives the Byzantines a problem because he has to kind of deal with this. And if he doesn't send units to deal with this, then obviously he's going to be raided pretty heavily. So that thins the numbers that he's going to be having to fight with on the front line. Or the Kesh is going to get right on top of the Manjanik. The Manjanik might go down. I'll just try to body block as long as possible. Villagers, will they get pulled to repair? No, it won't come up in time. We'll lose 2 Manjanik for free almost. And that's pretty huge. Trying to get a keep up. That keep should go up in the end. But good timing here for Demu to push on in. This could be devastating for the ayyubids. Has a great villager lead, but might be losing quite a few very soon. Keep goes up. Raiding party around the back. Still working hard for the ayyubids. Coming up in the north. Villagers away from that wood line. You can see the dots of red going into the base of the ayyubids. Barracks gets stopped for now. Keshik's going around the back. Continues to raid. Raids have been dealt with. The interesting thing actually raiding about the Byzantines, obviously with the Agratoy ability from the cistern, it becomes literally a little bit more interesting, a little bit more difficult to achieve. And hand cannoneers coming up with the great economy for the ayyubids, that could be a really big problem for the Byzantines. The Keshiks actually fighting this pretty well ultimately. They should be able to clear this up. I mean, horsemen ultimately, you know, they're okay, but not up against the Keshiks. Keshiks will win that fight quite convincingly. Breaking in with a couple of rams. Villagers should torch that down. Or getting a keep on this gold. This is pretty huge. I mean, he's trying to extract as much gold as he possibly can. Took a decent chunk of it, by the way. And that's the big thing about actually taking the gold early. It means that if you are pushed off of it, once you're taking the gold once you've got map control, that's a safe way to do it. But, you know, obviously when you do get pushed away from gold, you've taken half of it already. It's massive. Okay, well, that's certainly an interesting place to have a farming transition. The keep not really in zone of it. Just wants to keep the villagers active, I guess. Keshiks around the back. Oh, that could be a decimal. Oh, God, this is not great. Pull the villagers away just as well. Paying attention, but massive force coming in. 71 military versus 16. This is kind of problematic for Louis. He's got to find a way to stabilize. He's got great economy, but it's got to count for something. He's got to make units quickly. Trying to get his production buildings. He had it on the front line as well, which is tricky because, of course, that's the first area to be focused on for the Byzantines. He keeps trickling in units. He's got to find a way to stem the bleeding here. Mr. B's attacks once again. Villagers are dying. I wonder if he's got textiles. He does, which certainly helps. The great thing about Limitana, but they're so hard to kill, but they also have good torch damage on them. And that helps deal with the production buildings. And, it's a kind of a... It's not a siege unit in itself, but it certainly helps to siege down enemies. Now bear in mind this economy might actually distract the Byzantines a little bit, make them focus on this area, which might give him a bit of time to breathe back at home, which is kind of what he needs. But Louis, still a good population, just needs a bit more units. Yeah, this is what we're talking about, like that keep is not really ranging most of these farms, so the Limitane should get good value, and hand cannon is going to clear up what remains here for the Byzantines, especially with the Gulam involved. 2 siege workshops. They were trying to put some pressure ahead this little proxy base. Villagers having to back away, go into stone just to keep active. So certainly this is a position that maybe loueMT will want to try and protect. Oh, he's got a couple of horsemen on top of the royal cannon. I think cannon should be okay, especially with the villagers dying to repair. Will he snipe it? No, the villagers do come out to repair in the end, and Limitano are in position to try and deal with that. Yeah, it's a good thing you noticed that. It's a premium unit, of course. You don't want to be losing that. There's a lot of villagers here. I mean, ultimately it's not... Yeah, I mean, that's a big chunk of the economy. It's about half the economy, actually. It's kind of crazy, the advanced positioning of this. This could give an opportunity for the ayyubids to push through the middle, but it's got to get through keeps first. This is looking a bit problematic for him still. Still not stabilised in terms of military numbers, and farms being torched down, burnt down to the ground. Villagers garrisoning inside need to build that, keep up again if they can. The trouble is he needs to deal with the cannons. Villagers being sent out does now have an elephant, a tower elephant. Wait, what's going on here? Okay. I think those units were firing up against that keep for a while. Keep finding it hard to survive, but does take out one of the cannons. Going to take out a second potentially. Will the keep go down? It's going to be a close one. It's on a really, really low health. The keep stays alive for now, and the cannon was taken down as well. So the Limitani getting good villager kills. Does have a cannon placement though, so maybe looking to torch them down with the Limitani, but villagers still repairing, and they might go down to the boiling oil cannon placement. I don't think he quite has enough Limitani, especially with the hand cannoneer numbers for the ayyubids. In fact, this is a turning point in the game. The economy has kicked in. Military numbers looking great for the ayyubids now. 61 came at perfect time, 36 minutes into the game, and now the ayyubids looking really powerful. Demu up to 64 food. That's all he's got. He's trying to spam out as much Limitani, but he's struggling now. The economy not looking good for him at all. Has scaled a decent amount. He's got 96 villages, but bear in mind, the ayyubids have been really far ahead in that regard for a long period of time, and that's what's really been a bit of a power spike for him now. The economy's already kicked in, and continues to kick in. 122 villages, and this is going to be tough for Demu to now do some significant damage. It felt like his window to win the game was about 5 minutes ago. All of a sudden now, the ayyubid's going to be packing a punch. Going to look to break through on the right side. Does have a stone wall, which will buy him some time, but going to be getting a ram. Setting his army here, and, well, he's going to try and take care of this. Probably could, actually, but hand cannons might take out the tower elephant pretty quickly if it's focused on. It's not focused on just yet. loueMT taking that front line for the ayyubids against the Limitani and Phrygian guards. Hand cannons, though, they look so good in numbers. I think he should be fine here, the ayyubids. Pushing forward with the ram, and I don't think the Byzantines have quite enough. Limitani and Phrygian guards going to try and take out the ram if they can, so he stops the push coming in on the stone walls. We have to see it ends up being the case. Well, villagers being pulled to take out royal cannon. That's perfect for him. And he's going to take out this keep in the forward position with the ram and the units as well. Going to get an outpost for some vision. Acting as staging ground to attack from as well. The Byzantines struggling down to 24 military. Doesn't have food income he needs. As in, he's got good income, but doesn't have the bank of it. That's the problem. He's having to spend everything he's getting. And down to 134 population. loueMT up to 200. Keep does go down in the forward position. Woodline is exposed with a lot of villagers there. This is not looking great for Demu. He's being attacked in two fronts, right? So Demu has to pick his location to try and defend, and if he tries to defend both at the same time, that'll thin the military numbers down more than it already is. Camel Lancers charging in on the royal cannon, getting repaired. Will it survive? I mean, I think it goes down in the end. It does go down. And villagers try to repair the best they could, and they're going to get another royal cannon charged in by the camels rather. The Camel Lancers does get sniped, and yeah, this is a force that's going to be really difficult to deal with. Camel Lancers, Gulam, and hand cannoneers. Sprinkling a ram or two, and it's looking problematic. And if he gets on top of the olive grove transition here, that's going to be a lot of dead villagers. Right on the front of the map, mid-map. Tower elephant trying to focus and move their way through, but with the hand cannoneers involved, it's going to be tricky. Tower elephant goes down. I don't think Demu quite has enough. He's going to have one stand here, I think, with the Limitani and Nesta Bees, but it feels like it's a tall order at this point, especially being pushed into locations. Down to 16 military in the south. He's making a push forward. Hand cannon is going to rip through those villages really quickly. And if you thought food income was a problem, or the food bank was a problem, it's going to get even worse for the Byzantines. Does have a cannon placement inside, the mangonel placement rather, inside the outpost. So that's going to be taken down by the ram. One less to be survives. He might hold on for a little bit here, actually. The Limitani buying himself some time in the forward position, but around the back his farms are idled, and not looking great for Demu. He's lost 64 villagers so far in the game. He's actually killed more than he's lost, to be fair. But we know what happened. ayyubids came up with 3 town centres, and they really boomed hard. He continues to trickle in units. Plenty of gold and food in the bank for the ayyubids. Continues to pump out units at population capacity as well. Cannot say the same for the Byzantines. They're going to start to be overrun pretty soon, as he's got 2 angles to approach from here. Olive groves hugely idled, and yeah, I mean, he's finding it difficult to even focus on this middle part. And there it is then. Demu taps out. A great display by the ayyubids with a great economy. The 3rd town centre being added in there in the mid-castle age. Really packed a punch later on in the Imperial age. Hope you guys enjoyed this casted game. Take care and see you next time.